Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank where I climb the online series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. First of all, if you want to see the battle against the rank number 2 player, skip to the second battle that's in the timestamp in the description below, but as always, I think all the battles are pretty fun, so stick around for more if you're interested. We're going to be using a really interesting Lunala team today, built by a Chilean player called Hummus. By the way, just absolutely love that username. But Lunala is a really interesting Pokemon. It's actually one that I've seen a lot of like high-ranked players kind of use recently. Now, you know, when you look at Lunala, you're thinking, oh, it's Psychic and Ghost type. You're so weak into, opposing Dark-type Pokemon like Incineroar or Ghost-type Pokemon like Calyrex. And, the answer to that is yes, you are rather weak to them, but the rest of the team here is basically composed to kind of support you against it, right? So, for example, with Lunala, typically you're going to struggle against Calyrex Shadow Rider. Well, what's really good against Calyrex Shadow Rider? Something that can just outspeed it and one-shot it. That's why there's a Choice Scarf Lele on this team. What's kind of fun about this team is that you also set up the Psychic terrain with Lele. That often makes your opponent think that Lunala has those Psychic type attacks, but it actually doesn't. It's got Trick Room and Wide Guard. And so your main offense is going to come from Moongeist Beam, but Meteor Beam is really critical in 1, giving you a special attack boost, and 2, covering for Pokemon that Moongeist Beam otherwise wouldn't hit very well, mainly Incineroar, for example. And so Scarf Lele is already going to be a pretty good answer to Calyrex Shadow Rider. AV Rilalboom with that knockoff also handles Calyrex Shadow Rider. Incineroar in general with Throat Chop can one-shot Calyrex Shadow Rider, whereas they don't have much damage output to you in return. And then, yeah, the Lunala also has Wide Guard. So there's actually a lot of good anti-Calyrex stuff here. Incineroar, as I mentioned, also going to be a somewhat tricky Pokemon to deal with when you're playing with Lunala, so that's where Urshifu is really handy. You can just go for Surging Strikes and crit them, and Stack Attack also is just relatively good into Incineroar, where it's like, yeah, you can intimidate the Stack Attack, but then you have to either take a lot of damage or, switch out, and Stack Attack is free to just kind of launch Rock Slides off. So it's interesting because this team has 2 Trick Room users in the Lunala and Stack Attack. You don't necessarily need to set up Trick Room to win the game, and you're not always going to set up Trick Room, right? It's not like Lunala and Lele and Urshifu are like super, super slow Pokemon. So you kind of have to judge it based off the matchup and see how fast your opponent is relative to you. If they're a hyper offense team, featuring nothing slow, then you are always going to often want to set up that Trick Room. But if they've got Pokemon that actually do well under Trick Room, you might have to think twice, right? Even just an Incineroar can give Lunala some, trouble under Trick Room. But Lunala in general is just a really fun Pokemon, great typing, Moongeist Beam in general, like Ghost in general in this format just hits for a lot, as we've seen. That's one reason why people like Calyrex a lot. But it's also really bulky, right? With that Shadow Shield, you can actually take so many super effective attacks, which is really impressive. So Lunala is a little bit bulkier than some of the other restricted Pokemon players might be used to seeing, and that allows you to, play with a little bit more bulk, stay on the field for a little bit longer, pivot out. With this team, you have a lot of potential switching opportunities with U-Turn from Rillaboom and Parting Shot from Incineroar as well. So, Rillaboom, Urshifu here all really standard. Nothing too surprising there with those sets. Lele is really cool. I love Nature's Madness, by the way, because it can just give you burst damage onto something that's like a lot bulkier and wouldn't expect to take 50% normally from a Lele, like Stack Attacka, for example. So Nature's Madness can really chip away at things that otherwise wouldn't expect to just take a ton of damage immediately. And then finally, the Stack Attacka set. This is pretty standard, but there's no Body Press or Wide Guard. It's actually Chopal with the Protect. I really like Protect here because I feel like, personally, when I play against Stack Attack, I kind of fall into the mindset, oh, they're not going to carry Protect. So few Stack Attackers are carrying Protect. And I've been baited multiple times into thinking that when playing against Stack Attack. So here, when you have it with the Protect, it makes it a lot harder to deal with just because players will often double up into Stack Attack thinking there's no Protect. So, yeah. Ultimately, Lunala is just a pretty cool restricted Pokemon. It is bulkier, like I mentioned. It gets really powerful Moongeist Beams off, and you're not going to one-shot most things with Moongeist Beam, but that's okay because most things aren't one-shotting the Lunala. Even something like, 4-time super effective Dark-type attack with the Shadow Shield, you can actually survive. And so, generally, this is just a nice restricted Pokemon to play with if you want a little bit more bulk. Is it the best? I wouldn't necessarily say so, but I think it's a really fun meta call, and the rest of the team is well composed to support it here. So, thanks once again to Hummers for their team. There is a rental, paste, and his Twitter all down in the description below. Thanks to you all as always for watching. If you enjoy, please show your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, question of the day. I want to know if you're trying out any fun restricted sets, because this Lunala certainly is pretty fun. It is probably the most standard Lunala set running around right now. Maybe instead of Wide Guard, you'll see another attacking move like a Psychic type attack. But generally, I think Lunala in general is just a pretty fun restricted Pokemon. So let me know if you're trying out any fun sets in the description below, and let's get started. Getting started with our first match of the day, and we're up against Calyrex Shadow Rider. Okay. Now, this is a pretty interesting matchup because obviously you would think Lunala is really bad into Calyrex Shadow Rider, but we have the Incineroar and the Scarf Lele. Scarf Lele can just Shadow Ball the Calyrex, which is very, very handy for us here. So that's going to be really essential. They have Umbreon, though. That's actually the thing I'm most worried about. Like, I think we should bring Lele, Rilalboom, and Lunala. But then it's like, do I want Incineroar or Urshifu? Incineroar makes the Calyrex-S life even more difficult, but then I kind of struggle in damage output against Umbreon. Whereas Urshifu feels like the right answer here just to deal with Umbreon. I mean, mainly for close combat. Okay. What if I just go Lele plus Lunala? The one risk is they can if they switch in, if they lead Rillaboom. But I feel like that's, is that unlikely? It would be pretty bad if they were to lead Rillaboom. I could go Rilla plus Lunala here as well. Okay. I'm gonna try Rillaboom, Lunala, Urshifu, and then Lele. Mainly because they don't have great damage output into Rillaboom, and my Rillaboom just pressures their Calyrex with the knockoff turn 1, which is pretty sweet. So, yeah. Definitely excited to see how this one plays out. Stack Attack could have been an okay bring. Just wasn't sure how I was going to guarantee setting up Trick Room here. And if they actually have like Life Orb Mudshot on the Calyrex, then it poses some issues for us. Okay, they go with Rillaboom and Umbreon. I'm okay with this, I think, all things considered. Yeah, much more passively than I was anticipating, but it's not too bad for us. I think turn 1, I'm honestly willing to just protect the Lunala. My terrain went off first. Alternatively, I could just fake out into their Rillaboom. I could even Trick Room, which is pretty interesting, but I'm not sure I want to set that up right now. This play seems kind of weird, but I actually kind of like fake out into... Oh, I can't protect. Okay, with that then... I'm down to just fake out into the Rillaboom. This is the biggest threat to my Urshifu right now. And Meteor Beam it as well. Actually, I might want to target Umbreon. Well, Urshifu can deal with Umbreon, I think, as well as Lele. So I'll double up onto Rillaboom here. Okay, they switch out. And it's going to be Incineroar, but this actually works out pretty fine for us because we get a Meteor Beam off into that slot. If Meteor Beam just one-shots, we're in really good shape. But yeah, either way, I'm actually really happy about the outcome of this turn because Incineroar is obviously not exactly the most fun Pokemon to go up against when you're using Lunala. So I'm really hoping we hit this. This is the downside of Meteor Beam, 90% accuracy. If you miss, it's just so bad because not only... I mean, that's your one chance of getting it off, basically, right? So, yeah. Okay, Meteor Beam is going to connect here, so that's huge. Even if it doesn't KO, that's totally fine. It puts us in a really, really good position. And that actually just gets the one-hit KO, so this is probably the best possible start we could have asked for. Okay, and they're just going to go for Snarl. Now, Snarl's going to do some damage to Lunala, but you can see with our ability, it doesn't do that much, and then with Terrain, we heal back a little bit as well. Now, the upside is, I'm willing to switch out Lunala a little bit more. If we didn't get hit by Snarl, I'd feel a little bit weird switching out after getting just a boost immediately, but we're in great shape right now, right? Like, you either bring the Rillaboom back in, to which then I can U-turn, or you bring the Calyrex, to which I can just go for a knockoff immediately. And they are just going to go for the Calyrex here, so that's fine by me. I think in this position, we can... do I want a Trick Room still? It's a little bit ambitious. Knockoff into Lunala here, or sorry, into Calyrex is really safe. And I have Wide Guard. Okay. Well, with Wide Guard, I think I'm willing to just Wide Guard here. Even if Umbreon just goes for Snarl, well, that's fine. Like, Calyrex protect Umbreon Snarl here makes some sense. But looks like Calyrex is not protecting. It could also substitute here, which would make some sense to me. No, they go for Astral Barrage. Nice. This is like the best possible demonstration of how, even though you would think Calyrex Shadow Rider does really well into our composition, Lunala's been putting in a ton of work, and Knockoff is just a one-hit KO even with the Intimidate. So, it's the best possible demonstration and start we could have had for this team. They're Life Orb, and they go for Foul Play. Yep. Onto Rillaboom. I think they were just hoping that we don't have Wide Guard there. If you don't, then you do a ton of damage. You know, pick up the knockout onto Lunala, deal a lot to Rillaboom. Although with the AV, I'm pretty sure even if your specs there on Calyrex, we'd survive. And if knockoff KOs the Calyrex, then we're still in really good position, right? Because then we have the numbers advantage. And then we can also control the terrain. And then Lele does really well into my opponent's back too. But now there's really not much they can do. So we can just U-turn out here. I will target the Rilalboom slot because that can't heal up. There's really no need to switch out into Lele here. Lele and Urshifu should close out the game for us at this point, but Lunala in its 2 turns put in amazing work here as my opponent just forfeits. So, yeah, you can see how, you know, when people think about Lunala, you know, you're probably thinking, oh, it's so weak to Calyrex Shadow Rider, right? But this team is so well composed because there are so many good answers in a Calyrex Shadow Rider. You have the Wide Guard, you have the knockoff AV Rillaboom, you have the Incineroar, you have the Scarf Lele. It's actually pretty difficult for Calyrex Shadow Rider teams to play the game, or specifically Calyrex Shadow Rider to play the game against this team composition. So once again, this is the mark of good team building, right? Yes, if you're using a Pokemon that struggles against some of the more common Pokemon, the rest of the team needs to be well composed to cover for those weaknesses, and that's exactly what this team does super well. So I'm glad that we ran into a Calyrex Shadow Rider team in the first game, because you would think that, yeah, it's not exactly the best matchup. Umbreon was actually really tricky, but yeah, what made that game a lot easier was just us getting a free knockout into Incineroar. I wasn't even expecting the switch in, to be honest. I just wanted to do damage into Rillaboom, because if you eliminate Rillaboom from that matchup, then it paves the way for Urshifu a little bit easier. Rillaboom was also annoying because we had Lele. I wanted to gain, you know, control of the terrain, and very few Rillabooms in the format are carrying Protect right now because so many are Assault Vested. So the fact my opponent made that switch into Incineroar just made things even better. I wasn't going for like an advanced prediction or anything, and it just like played out even better than I had expected. So yeah, after turn 1, we already had an advantage, and then the worst case turn 2 was them foul playing into Lunala and then like protecting with the Calyrex, but I figured even if that were the case, at that point I had enough good late game offense, especially with the Scarf Lele, right, which you just come in and Shadow Ball, and I figured it'd be really hard for them to play around Scarf Lele as well. So even if they went for Protect Calyrex there and like one-shot the Lunala, we were honestly still in pretty good shape, but that was an awesome first game, so let's just keep it going. Second game of the day, we're up against rank number 2. Oh boy. I wonder if this game gets them to number 1. It's just a very bog standard Zacian team, but I'm sure there's some surprises up its sleeve here. Okay. Well, Lunala's not bad into Zacian. In general, has good damage output here. They don't have a great Ghost Resist other than Incineroar. I feel like I need Insane, Lele, Lunala. Actually, do I really need Lele? Terrain control's still not bad. Yeah, I mean, we're really relying on not Poltergeist. Yeah, our Ghost type attack here. I don't love Rillaboom. It's the tricky thing here is that Amoonguss, to be honest. Now, they don't know we don't have Psychic type damage on Lunala, so we can use that to our advantage. This just reminds me of yesterday where I was like, you know, I need to set up Trick Room to beat Zacian, but they have an Amoonguss here. But the thing is, do you really bring Amoonguss out into this matchup? It feels somewhat unlikely, to be honest. I think Instant plus Lunala is probably our safest lead. Yeah, is Lele even that important? It's mainly for terrain control. We do have Nature's Madness, which is kind of neat. Yeah, I'll still bring Lele, because actually otherwise I'm really Amoonguss weak. And, I don't know, you could go Urshifu or Stack Attacker here. I'm actually going to go for Stack Attacker because, like, also with this lead, like, I can just Trick Room with Lunala, right? It's not like I need to rely on Stack Attacker to Trick Room. Stack Attacker under Trick Room is actually not bad damage-wise against my opponent's team. It's just still the Amoonguss that I'm really worried about. But the question here is whether or not my opponent feels comfortable bringing Amoonguss into a matchup with Lele and just a lot of really scary stuff. So they're going to go Rillaboom plus Zacian, which means turn 1 I can go Fake Out plus Trick Room, but the problem here is if they just switch into Amoonguss. Rillaboom, of course, could Fake Out into the Incineroar, and then the Zacian could go for something like a Substitute. I also have to respect Knockoff from Rillaboom. I mean, this is a good lead matchup for us, but 1, we're going up against rank number 2, so they're obviously going to be a very good player, and 2, this is just, you know, one of the strongest team comps running around right now. I would protect or switch Zacian out right now. It's just, I don't know if they have Amoonguss in the back. I want to expect them to have it, but that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to click Trick Room turn 1. I don't know, though. It's just like, would you really bring it into this matchup? It just doesn't seem very good. So I might gamble a little bit here and just click Trick Room anyway. And I am going to... I don't really care about Knockoff, honestly. Oh, it does deny me a Meteor Beam. Alright. I will just go for Fake Out Trick Room here. We'll see if they have Amoonguss. Okay, they don't switch out, so that's a good start. Makes me think Zacian's subbing here, but nope, it's just Behemoth Blade. Alright, that's not a bad outcome. Well, let's see how much this does. Into the Lunala. Oh, that did nothing. Wow. Alright, nice. So we get Trick Room up, which is obviously a good start for us. Now, the main thing I'm still worried about, of course, like I mentioned, is that Amoonguss switch in, and their Rillaboom's going to be faster than us right now, so they can just go for a knockoff onto Lunala, potentially. I've got Flare Blitz. So I'm willing to just Flare Blitz into Rillaboom here. And I think switch out into Stack Attacka. I'm not sure if Flare Blitz one-shots Rillaboom. And Stack is a relatively safe switch in right now, because there's no way Zacian's going to go for a fighting type attack into Lunala. I mean, if they do, that's just a really crazy prediction. Like, kudos to them, but it's not exactly like the safest play, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm like making the educated guess that they're not bringing the Amoonguss into this matchup, given the Lunala, the Amoonguss, Lunala, Lele, Incin, and the Rillaboom. Like, it's just not an easy matchup for Amoonguss. So, Zacian switches out. And they bring in Incineroar. Okay, great. So far, so good. I feel like if you had Amoonguss, you would have switched it out there. Actually, it could be a double switch. Well, Rillaboom's not switching out here, but it could U-turn out. U-turn out into Amoonguss would be very interesting, honestly. But either way, I'm decently happy about the outcome of this turn. And actually, yeah, without Intimidate, we might have just KO'd there. But I think we had to switch out there to deal with the knockoff, which comes out here. Yep. Losing Chople is not the end of the world for us. I'm okay with that here. Now this next turn's pretty interesting. Because what I can do is switch out into Lele to change the terrain, block a Fake Out, and then just Flare Blitz to KO. So I actually think I like that here. The key thing in this matchup is conserving our Incineroar, because Incineroar is going to be the main thing we want to use to deal with Zacian. Even a single Intimidate goes a long way. Yeah, I mean, I don't love losing Chople Berry there, but it's better than losing Calyrex. Not Calyrex, sorry, Lunala. Knockoff probably didn't one-shot there, but at the same time, I wanted to conserve our HP on it, because it's just a relatively bulky Pokemon here. So, we'll see. I want to eliminate Rillaboom here, mainly because, one, that gets rid of terrain control on their end, and two, it's just kind of annoying to deal with the Calyrex in the back. And then the thing is, I can just Parting Shot this next turn, potentially, right? And switch Lele back out again. So Tricker's been pretty handy for us. If we somehow get Lunala and Stack Attacka out on the field at the same time... Okay, good Rillaboom switch. Urshifu? Nope, it's Landorus. Okay, so we know all of their Pokemon, and like I said, yeah, they did not bring that Amoonguss, and they do go for the Fake Out, so that's a pretty favorable outcome for us, I would say, here. How much does Flare Blitz do here? Not 50%. Not amazing. Here's the tricky thing. They don't know that I'm Scarfed. Parting Shot here into Incin is pretty safe. Then you do get an Earth Power into that slot, though. And I've revealed all of my Pokemon. Ooh, that's actually a little scary. You could also protect Landorus and then pivot Incin out into Rillaboom. Okay, I'm gonna Parting Shot into the Incineroar slot and Moonblast into it. Yeah, perfect. Because the thing is, you don't know I'm Choice Scarfed here, so you don't want to risk Landorus just fainting to a Psychic type attack. Like, that's just really risky, right? So they Parting Shot Lele, but this works out okay for us because, you know, I could have just Flare Blitzed and Moonblasted for KO, but then I guess they get the free switching back into Incineroar, which I don't love. Either way, this is tricky, right? Where it's like, yeah, we like got Trick Room up. We're not doing that much damage right now, which is probably the biggest downside. Good thing is I still won't reveal that I'm Scarfed with Lele, so we can really surprise them with that after this is over. But that was a good switch into the Lando this last turn, and yeah, I'd say they're playing this quite nicely. It's actually Zacian coming in. That's really interesting. Instead of the Rillaboom. Okay. That actually, I think, gives us a big window of opportunity. Because the thing is now, although, like, yeah, the Flare Blitz Moonblast play there would have been guaranteed damage. It would have been a KO onto Rillaboom or just free damage onto Zacian. So, kind of regret not going for that. But the thing is now, I can bring out Lunala. I have a guaranteed Meteor Beam into this Landorus slot at basically no cost. And I can withdraw the Lele back out into Incineroar. So we're going to get the smallest amount of chip damage on Zacian. That's not really... it's actually more than small. I'll take that. That's because it was a crit. Okay, lucky for us. I'm not sure that damage output really matters that much in the grand scheme of things, but we'll take it. Either way, like I said, now I can launch Meteor Beam into the Landorus slot. It's the last turn of Trick Room. You would think Landorus is always switching out here. I would go into Rilalboom and sacrifice it. So then the thing is, like, dealing with their Incineroar could be a little bit annoying. I'll still switch into Incin here, and because they're Landorus, I'm Scarfed and they're not Scarfed. Their Lando will switch out first, meaning if you bring out Rilalboom, I'll get the Intimidate off against you, and that's pretty valuable. And then I have Fake Out Pressure next turn, if you're bringing Rilalboom to change the terrain. Ideally, they'd switch Landorus out here into Incin, just like that last game, and we just get a KO. But I think it's Rilla coming out here. It's Incin! This Lunala is so good at catching these Incineroars. Oh my goodness. That's actually such a big deal, honestly, because my damage output against Incineroar is otherwise somewhat lacking. And because we got the parting shot onto their Zacian last turn, like, this is super, super good for us. Now, this game is still far from over, but we haven't really taken that much damage yet. And the key thing here is that we might be able to even get another Trick Room up, which is really huge if so. Okay, Zacian is not going for a Protect or a, which makes sense, right? I wasn't pressuring it with the KO here, really. Especially without, like, you know, Hidden Power Fire on Lele, which you'd sometimes see way back in the day. Okay, Meteor Beam fortunately connects both times we used it this time around. So this is such a big deal, honestly. And it's a one-hit KO. That is so, so, so huge for us. Okay, nice. Because the Swappy of Intimidates is also just kind of annoying. Ooh, but there's Swords Dance, Zacian. Okay. Okay, okay. Uh-oh. I mean, that's fine though, right? Because whoever you bring in, I can just get Trick Room up again now. And without your Incineroar, I'm even less scared about setting up Trick Room because Incin, Lunala plus... Trick Room is the best move for them to have in that position though, so that's really neat. Okay. Rilalboom comes out. Now, Knockoff does less damage. I have Fake Out. I don't think Behemoth Blade KOs us at neutral. Like, there's no way. That first one with the Intimidate and Shadow Shield, I don't know, it's like, it's a little bit close, but I'd be surprised. Okay, so I think here I'm going to just Trick Room and go for Fake Out onto the Rilalboom slot. Actually, isn't it better to just target Zacian? Because a knockoff isn't going to KO Lunala here anyway. Well, I can't say that with 100% confidence, actually. Alright, I'm going to target Rilalboom here then. Okay, we get that off. They did not go for a Fake Out there. That makes sense. Just going to be Blade into Lunala. Okay, we survive. That's huge. Because the thing is now, our Incineroar is very good offensively into my opponent's team composition, right? Like, I can just Flare Blitz Zacian. They have no counterplay to that. And I can even switch Rilalboom out. Although Grassy Terrain's honestly decent for us right now. Yeah, I'm really happy about how this game has gone. And the key thing is Lunala, both the last game and this game, just sniping 2 Incineroars. So I think we can go Lunala into Stack Attacka here. Actually, I feel like Lunala's done its job at this point. We don't really need it to win the game. So in this position, I am willing... Oh, it's not like even a high horsepower KO Stack Attacka though, and a Glide certainly won't. So I'm willing to just switch into Stack and Flare Blitz. Like, the thing is now, without Incineroar on their team, they don't have a switch in into Flare Blitz. So that's really critical. And even if Trick Room expires, we've already chipped away at everything enough to the point where Lele can just come in and then just go for Psychic type attacks to finish off everything. So I guess maybe the critical hit onto Zacian mattered because now Flare Blitz like should be a guaranteed KO from this range. Oh, they switch Rilalboom out. Okay. I see what they're going for. You have to protect Zacian here. So yeah, I could have maybe just won the game here if I stayed in and just went for Moongeist Beam, but I mean, getting Stack Attacka in is certainly not a bad thing for us. And they don't protect Zacian. Okay, I feel like this should win us the game if this KOs. Brilliant. Let's go. Nice. I do feel a little bit bad for denying my opponent the #1 ranking though. But that feels good to And I feel bad about denying it, but it feels good to win is what I meant to say there. Well, the game's not over yet, so let's not call it. In Pokemon, you know, it's funny because when I commentate, sometimes I'll like talk about how a game's technically not over yet. People will be like, what are you talking about? Like, it's completely over. But, you know, sometimes people misclick. Sometimes people time out. Sometimes really crazy RNG can happen. Like, it's just not over until it's actually over. That's my point. Anyway, at this point, what I can do is bring in the Tapu Lele. That sets up Psychic Terrain, so you can't click Fake Out, and I Flare Blitz KO the Rillaboom. Yeah, that should win us the game. And my opponent forfeits. Yeah, I think the main thing here is in both games 1 and games 2, we managed to get like really, really fortunate Meteor Beams off into our opponent's into our opponent's Incineroars, which I wasn't expecting, because if I were in my opponent's shoes, like, it's way more important to conserve that Incineroar than Rillaboom, which is why I was expecting them to switch in Rillaboom. But yeah, they were probably thinking, oh, they're just going to go for a Psychic or a Ghost type attack right now, and this is where, once again, having Meteor Beam is so critical in this Lunala, because we just nail so many Pokemon that would typically want to switch into either a Psychic or a Ghost type attack. And the funny thing is we don't even have a Psychic type attack on the Lunala. But the main thing for us that I felt like I had to set up Trick Room in that game because I had to outspeed my opponent, and the critical thing was like, yeah, I just made a judgment call that they wouldn't bring Amoonguss. I feel like with the team that we're using, Amoonguss just is not very strong. Now in a best of 3, I think the adjustment my opponent would make is to bring the Amoonguss over like Landorus-I, for example. However, in a best of 1, I feel like it's relatively unlikely because you're going up against a Lunala, a Lele, an Incineroar, and an Amoonguss. None of those are really, and a Rillaboom. And none of those are Pokemon that Amoonguss really loves going up against, and you do potentially just get one-shot by Lunala or the Tapu Lele. So, yeah, that was a really, really fun game, and always fun to play against someone so high-ranked. So, let's look for another one. Okay, third game here, and we've got another Zacian team. Now, this one's a little bit different. It's got Tsareena over Amoonguss. I think that's basically it, actually, right? Lack of priority here actually can be troublesome because I feel like the cycling of Incineroar and Fake Outs in general was really valuable for us in that last game. However, I think the same 4 Pokemon previously worked out pretty well. So I really like the Incineroar plus Lunala lead, and then Lele plus Stakataka in the back. Now the question always is, like, am I losing significant value in not bringing Rillaboom and Urshifu? Rillaboom's really bad here, honestly. The main reason you want to bring it is for grassy glide damage into Landorus, Gieleki, and Urshifu, but 1, they have a Tsareena, 2, they have a Zacian, which completely walls Rillaboom, 3, they have Incineroar. Combination of all of that really makes me not want to bring Rillaboom, and like, because of the Tsareena, then it's like, okay, does Rillaboom have extra outed value outside of its priority attacks? And the answer is not really. Now, Urshifu's not bad offensively here, right? Strikes into Instant Lando's a KO, but Lando outspeeds us, Gieleki outspeeds us, Tsareena walls us. So I feel like the 4 that we're picking are just really by far our best 4. So then the question is ordering. Now, they also don't have Rillaboom, right? Which is a pretty big deal. Meaning that I actually will gain terrain control right from the start of the game. But I don't need terrain control right now. Especially because Lunala doesn't actually benefit from it. The benefit of Lunala being, you know, Ghost type means I don't have to worry about Fake Out, so it's not like I feel forced to set up Psychic Terrain just to block like a Fake Out. So I feel like Incineroar plus Lunala is just such a consistent safe lead if you're using this team comp, where you get an Intimidate off against a lot of physical attackers that normally would threaten the Lunala, and you also have Fake Out pressure, and you can just go for Trick Room or just go for offense immediately. I'm going to go with Landorus and Urshifu. I think I really like this lead from their end. Yeah, this is a very good anti-Incineroar lead. So I think they hard red into kind of me just bringing out that Incineroar immediately. Okay, well done. Honestly, I kind of want to bait them into doubling up onto the Incin, switch it out into Lele here, and set up Trick Room. Because if I were my opponent, I would double up onto Incineroar because that's the biggest threat to the Zacian in the back. But this is a very good lead by them. They actually would draw Landorus, which I'm okay with. Into Tsareena. Ah, I like that. I like that a lot. But I'd say this works out decently well for us. It also confirms all 4 of our opponent's Pokemon at this point, so getting that knowledge on turn 1 is always pretty valuable for us, right? But the idea was block a Fake Out, get a Surging Strikes into Incineroar, get a KO onto it, you've eliminated the biggest threat to Zacian. Bang, bang, boom. That is Dark Urshifu. it's so funny. Like, you can obviously tell by the stance, and this is why I always double check. I like forget to double check once, and we actually end up surviving, which is hilarious, but oops. I'm just laughing because yeah, I was just my brain was so hardwired into thinking it's water Urshifu, because I feel like every Urshifu I played in the last like 20 Urshifus has been water. So we actually survived, which is pretty clutch there. It's a testament to Lunala's bulk, but obviously that was not a great start to the game for us. That's so funny. Okay, I'm willing to go for a Psyshock here onto the Tsareena and then switch out into Incineroar. It's probably Focus Sash on the Urshifu, so if I were them, I actually would just Wicked Blow here probably. Okay, how would I play turn 1 differently? I don't know if I really had to. They actually, the Dark Urshifu, yeah, it's just such a good lead. They hard countered my lead, which is really well done on their end. Let's me drop kick. Yep. Okay, attack drop. They're not scarfed. Or they could still be scarfed and they're just... Oh, Lele survives as well. Okay, so 2 clutch survivals to keep us in this game at least, but setting up Trick Room on turn 1 was just really awkward based off how this early game has gone. Good damage from Psyshock. Blitz should KO the Tsareena now, so I'm willing to... Actually, they should close combat here, right? I'll stay in with Lele, honestly. And I'll Psyshock and Blitz. Because I don't want to lose either Stakataka or Lunala right now. Yeah, masterfully done, though. Great lead. I just got hard outlet here. Yeah, even if I knew it was Dark Urshifu, I really don't know if I would have played turn 1 too differently, to be honest. Psyshock is nice, by the way, right? Because you look at their defense rather than their special defense. Yeah, okay, they did just go for Wicked Blow. I mean, I could have switched in Stakataka there, but I don't love that idea. Now we get Stakataka in, which is good. The problem is I have 2 Pokemon that can potentially just threaten Stakataka for a one-shot. So actually, maybe I need to go into Lunala right now, because we should outpace your Urshifu under Trick Room with this thing, and you can't Sucker Punch us. They bring out Zacian. Okay. Man, how do we win this? I really want to double up onto something right now. Trick Room's expiring, though, which is the problem. 2 turns of Trick Room left. If I'm my opponent, I'm protecting Zacian here and attacking with Urshifu. Actually not even sure if Flare Blitz and a Meteor Beam KOs, but I'm going to go for it. They actually don't protect either. I really like that call, actually, and I think that probably wins them the game. Yeah, I don't even think we do enough damage here. It's been a while since we run into Dark Urshifu. It's just so funny that I've like hardwired myself into thinking all Urshifus are going to be water. But I think we miss out on this KO. Best case would be what, sub? Oh, and we miss. Well, we were bound for a Meteor Beam miss, to be honest. Yeah, I just got hard outlet in this game. If I doubled up onto Zacian, would we have had a shot? The tricky thing is that my Stakataka gets wrecked by both the Lando and the Urshifu. So if I doubled up onto Zacian, we get a KO, and there's still another turn of Trick Room, but then you just double protect into close combat and Earth Power. You just Earth Power the Lando, or sorry, Stakataka close combat Incineroar, right? So, like, what went wrong here? I mean, what could I have done better? Their lead was just so good. Dark Urshifu and Landorus-I. If they're Focus Sash on that, like, there's so little counterplay, I feel like, other than... And it's also the Tsareena blocking a Fake Out on turn 1. Like, my best way to deal with those two is maybe Lele. At least I pressure Moonblast, Psyshock. But even then... Yeah, I don't see an easy path here, especially with the... Like, it's them being Dark Urshifu that changes everything, right? Because it means that Lunala is actually threatened offensively, and we took that burst of damage. So, yeah. Anyway, that was just kind of a funny moment. This is why I always double check. I know you can tell by the stands, like, you know, one's, like, holding up its fists and the other is like this, but, like, yeah. It's easy to miss that. But like I said, either way, I just got completely wrecked by the lead. I guess then it's like, maybe I don't Trick Room turn 1, I just go maximum damage output. Ugh. I just don't have a safe play with the switch in with Tsareena as well, so there's all of that just adding up to be a rough one. But really well done by my opponent, honestly, so props to them. Alright, one more match here. And for this one, we're going to have Kyogre, but some really interesting stuff. Kyogre, Oranguru, Indeedee, Celesteela, Incineroar, and Tsareena. So, Wide Guard's helpful here. Triple Psychic, or sorry, Double Psychic. They obviously have some Trick Room pressure. Celesteela is interesting. Yeah, this is just a pretty interesting matchup, all things considered. Kind of like Lunala, Urshifu, honestly. And then Lele, Rilalboom. Here's my issue. I'm actually pretty weak into Celesteela if I don't bring Incineroar. But Flare Blitz and Rain's not doing... Actually, Incin's is a decent bring here, isn't it? It's just a Kyogre, but it's like... Man, as crazy as it seems, like maybe we actually don't even bring Rilalboom? Mainly because of the Tsareena? Ugh. I'm not sure. It also totally could be like Iron Ball. You could just lead Indeedee plus the Oranguru. So which I could actually reverse your Trick Room, actually. That's kind of interesting. But Lunala can't really hit the Oranguru for much. So maybe I don't bring Lele. Actually, yeah, Lele doesn't make that much sense here, right? We can bring Incineroar over Lele. Alright. Either way, this is a really interesting team. So I'm excited to see what happens here. I think if I were I kind of expect Iron Ball Kyogre, honestly, where it's like you follow me, Trick Room, set up Trick Room, and then just Water Spout, instruct Water Spout. That does look like Indeedee plus Oranguru, yeah. So the thing is, I can get Fancy turn 1 and reverse their Trick Room. Like, we have a lot of Trick Room mind games immediately here. I don't think Surging Strikes is one-shotting Indeedee. Yeah, I'm kind of down to reverse their Trick Room turn 1 and Surging Strikes into Indeedee. Because if I were my opponent, I'd just go follow me Trick Room right now. Maybe you don't even actually feel forced to follow me. Then... No, I'd still want to knock out Indeedee sooner than later, right? Because that's terrain control, and getting rid of that paves the way for Rilalboom a little bit better. Okay, they follow me. As expected. We got Surging Strikes off. It's pretty good damage. We're just going to fall short. They're going to have like 25-ish%. 20, 25. Yeah, it was close to picking up a KO, but not enough. Cool. We called our Trick Room correctly. So, turn 1 goes okay for us. Now my opponent's in a really awkward spot. Like, it gets really amusing here. Where it's like, if you're my opponent, do you click Trick Room again? Because if I call it correctly again, they're in really bad shape. The interesting thing is that we have this Wide Guard as well. Just double checking the speeds here. Yeah, we're faster with Urshifu. I want to go for it again so badly. And part of it is because I don't think Oranguru honestly is a better option right now. I'm trying to I can just switch in Rilalboom and get the KO. You know what? That's not a terrible idea, right? Oh, I guess it's a bad idea if they switch Indeedee out here, but they don't have a great switch in right now. And if they don't set up Trick Room here, we're in really good shape. I just didn't want to gamble and like click Trick Room and then be stuck with Lunala out in the subsequent turn. Whereas here, it's like, all right, even if you set up Trick Room, well, if I'm knocking out your Indeedee, I can just pretty easily fake out. Yep, they just go for follow me. Okay. I would have Trick Roomed again if I were my opponent's shoe, so I wanted to make the like super cool play to just click Trick Room again. But I figured this was a pretty good middle of the grounds play, which covers for really everything. So it's like I get a free knockout and like, yeah, now you get Trick Room up, but what do you do under that Trick Room immediately? Yep, they did go for it again. Like, if we went for it again, then we would have just outpaced them, and then we could have just gone Meteor Beam and Surging Strikes into Oranguru, pick up a KO there, and then probably just win the game from there. But I'm okay with how this turn played out. And it's like, if they made the read that I would click Trick Room again, and they just went for an attack, they're in really bad shape. Celesteela comes out. Okay, I don't mind that. I'm down to just fake out into Celesteela right now, and honestly just go for Surging Strikes onto it, I think. I don't really care for what Oranguru has to do right now. And, like, there's no way they have Tsareena as their 4th over Kyogre. That would just be really bizarre, because it's not like Kyogre's bad into this matchup. So this is also why I wanted Incineroar, right? Incineroar is actually really good into both my opponent's Pokemon here. So I'll be able to get some free damage on a Celesteela, and then the subsequent turn I can protect Urshifu. Yeah, I'm also just curious how fast their Celesteela is. Okay. There's a flinch, foul play probably, yep. Okay, they try to get Rilalboom, so Urshifu's Sash is still intact, which is kind of neat. And get a big Surging Strikes off here. Now... Okay, it's very solid damage, so I'm quite happy about that. Nice. That's a lot, yeah. Cool. I mean, now this next turn, it's just so safe for me to protect the Urshifu. Or sorry, protect the Urshifu and just bring in Incineroar. The one risky play here is that they Meteor Beam into that slot. If they are Meteor Beam here. But even if they are, and you KO us, I just get Rillaboom back in, and I can just fake out once again and Surging Strikes once again. You have no counterplay to that. So yeah, even in the worst case scenario, it's not even that bad. And if they're not Power Meteor Beam here, this feels very good for us. Like, it's going to be difficult for them to come back. Okay. This is just really the safest play. I mean, I could have attacked, especially because we had our Focus Sash intact. Huh. Well, okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my reaction. Okay. Well then. Nice read. We get crit, which is unfortunate, but if anything, that puts us pretty close to barrier range. I am down to just fake out here and Surging Strikes. And I think this time I like targeting Oranguru because I don't want my opponent to get another Trick Room up in this game. Now, Celesteela switching out into Kyogre seems like a possibility. They actually don't switch. That's fine. Yeah, and they're like getting pretty low with all of their Pokemon in terms of HP, right? Okay, so they finally break my Focus Sash, but that's fine. Because the thing is, now it's the last turn of Trick Room. I still don't know the full Celesteela set, honestly. That is just so interesting. Wow. Hey, strike 1, strike 2, 3 strikes, and you're out. But not actually, because it survives. But they're buried, which is fine. It's a really interesting team, but yeah, I feel like they just kind of lack damage output, even with that Steel Roller. Okay, so with that, I'm down to just Parting Shot into Celesteela and Detect. Now, the reason I want a Parting Shot here is because if they switch in Kyogre and we just Flare Blitz and there's Scarf Ogre, this could actually be kind of a weird endgame. Parting Shot always allows me to pivot out safely here. So there's Detect. It's Physical Celesteela with Steel Roller and Stomping Tantrum. Now, they actually almost pick up the KO, which is pretty impressive in itself, but it's not enough to actually KO. Cool. We'll get the Parting Shot off. Celesteela is really not threatening now, and I get the free switch in into... I think it's probably time to just bring out Lunala at this point. We want to conserve Rillaboom for the endgame, because that's just easily going to destroy the Kyogre in the back. And at this point, we saw how much damage Surging Strikes does into Oranguru, so this next turn, it's very safe for me to just go for Moongeist Beam and Surging Strikes. Okay, they go for Instruct. That's pretty neat. But it's like it's a -1 Stomping Tantrum into Lunala. It's fine. It is a cool play, though, if my Incineroar is faster, right, than the Oranguru. Or slower under Trick Room, I should say. I'm fairly sure Moongeist Beam just KO Celesteela from this range, and you can't protect in front of Urshifu, so Moongeist Beam and Strikes here is fine. And they just forfeit. Nice. Yeah, I mean, the main thing here is turn 1 gave us a big advantage, and it's like, often with the Follow Me setups, it's like if you're getting Trick Room up, you have to sweep with Trick Room, right? If you're sacrificing a Pokemon just to get Trick Room up. And so Celesteela, not exactly the most effective sweeper there, although the physical set was really cool, not what I was expecting with both the Steel Roller and the Stomping Tantrum, but in the end, it just wasn't enough to deal damage, right? Oranguru can chip away a little bit with Fake Out. It was really critical we brought both Incineroar and Rilalboom in this game, though. If I brought Lele, this would actually have played out very differently, because I'm just super weak with Lele against Celesteela under Trick Room. And that's why I was like, in Team Preview, I was like, okay, if I don't bring Incineroar here, where is my damage output against Celesteela coming out from? Maybe it's a little bit of Surging Strikes and Moongeist Beam, but under Trick Room, things get a little bit dicier. So it was really, really critical that we had Incineroar there in the end. But either way, that was a really fun set of games, and this team has been an absolute blast to use. So fun to go up against a bunch of different restricted matchups, 1 Calyrex, 2 Zacians, and a Kyogre. You know, pretty standard stuff there. And overall, I think we got to showcase a lot of the cool tricks that this team has. I really want to bring out that Scarf Lele and just Shadow Ball Calyrex Shadow Rider in the face, but maybe that's for tomorrow. Either way, thank you so much as always for watching. Thanks once again to the original creator for the team. Details in the description below. Don't forget to answer the question of the day. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.